And when they find 1,000 bottles of baby oil and 500 dildos, there's some suspect activity happening, Piers.
It's like you pass by the door and see a party in an apartment, you go in, you have a drink, and then you go home and realize Jeffrey Dahmer was eating and killing people.
Some women went there thinking, oh, you know, we're gonna have a freak off.
The fact that we as a society, we got mad for a week, money talks and bullshit walks.
Esther, please bear with me. We all know that there are pass-arounds.
If someone like P. Diddy, I'm sorry, it should be the guillotine.
If that was my daughter and I saw that on camera, it would have been a wrap for Diddy.
Just 1 year ago, Sean Diddy Combs, one of the most successful rappers and producers in music history, was on top of the world. The VMAs honoured him as a global icon.
The frequency is up. We're having a Club Love party. That's like a special private party that I throw, but you're invited. You're invited, Club Love. It's all R&B all night. All the things that I would play in my vibration, my frequency, because my frequency is different.
Well, the party's over for Diddy Combs. That global icon has now become a global pariah. Last week, Damian Williams, a US district attorney in New York, stepped in front of a microphone and told a shocked world this.
Today, I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice.
Well, Diddy is now awaiting trial at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. He was denied bail. According to some reports, he's refusing food and could even be on suicide watch. The case threatens to engulf the VIP world with fevered speculation about sordid tapes featuring celebrities and even politicians. So who knew what and when? How far could this go? Is this the music version of the Epstein scandal? And why was Diddy protected for so long by so many people? In a special edition of Piers Morgan Uncensored, we're looking into a scandal that is rocking the world of show business and way beyond. Here to unpack the fall of a global icon from the Criminal Lawyer Reacts YouTube channel, Bruce Rivers, the editor of Hollywood Unlocked and a man who partied with Diddy, Jason Lee, PBD's podcast Angry Patriot, Vinny Oshana, and here in the studio Uncensored contributor, Esther Krakue. Well, thank you all for joining me. I appreciate it very much. Bruce Rivers, let me start with you because you've been getting great traction with your YouTube channel by exploring every part of this scandal. It really does feel that it's getting bigger and bigger and is right up there with Epstein, with Weinstein, with these other huge scandals we've seen. What do you think is going to happen here?
I think he's going to go to the prison for the rest of his natural life. The federal guidelines are going to be astronomical. There's so much that they've gotten in the search warrant from Miami and LA, and he's really looking at sex trafficking with a lot of aggravating factors.
Which is the most serious for him?
The abuse, the RICO encompasses all the other statutes. So it's the sex trafficking and then all the other enhancements with that. So guidelines, he's probably looking at it in excess of 300 months. Those are just the guidelines.
I mean, I saw that he, through his lawyers, they put a bail package proposal that included a $50 million bond co-signed by Combs, his mother and other family members. It was to include home detention, surrender of his passport, weekly drug tests, a visitor log that would be submitted to pretrial services each night. But that was rejected. I mean, that in itself said to me just how serious the trouble is for Diddy Combs.
Well, you have a situation where this is a presumptive detention situation. In other words, the defense has to prove, rebut the presumption. And while this is all going on, we have witness tampering, we've got potential bribes of witnesses, and then we also have possession of drugs and ammunition and firearms that are obliterated serial numbers. And then he was on his plane trying to go somewhere earlier in the year. So we have a situation where there's a risk of flight and definitely a danger to the public and a potential obstruction of justice.
Let me turn to Esther on this, because Diddy, I met Diddy a few years ago at a party where he was the absolute cock of the walk. This guy was one of the biggest stars in the world, feted by everyone in the room that night, feted by the paparazzi when he came out. It looked like he was as big as it could get. If it's right, if Bruce is right, and he's going to prison for the rest of his life, this is one of the biggest downfalls I can remember in entertainment.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm never satisfied with just one person going down. It's like the whole Epstein thing. We don't actually know anyone who was associated with Epstein, who went to his nonce island, who really got involved in the criminal activity. And I think to be P. Diddy, to do the things that he's being accused of, you have to have a whole team around you. It's an infrastructure, basically. And I just really despise the fact that he's probably going to be the only one that's going to be taken down. He didn't get that powerful just by being by himself. He had the support of politicians, of other wealthy benefactors.
Well, there is a suggestion.
So many people in the industry.
Right, but there is.
Why is he only taking the?
Well, there is a suggestion that he may start talking to the feds and do some kind of deal. Now, Epstein never got the chance to do that or to take that kind of deal, even if he was offered it, because he died, right? He apparently committed suicide. Speculation has run riot ever since that somebody got to him, but that appeared to be the fact that he took his life. But that seemed to silence everything and stop the process moving to other people. But here, if Diddy was to suddenly start going after everyone and naming people, and there are tapes, as many people believe, depicting a lot of other people, famous people involved in this stuff, this could get massively bigger very quickly.
Well, the thing is, so many people knew a lot of things. So like 50 Cent, for example, was very open about his disdain for Puff Daddy, and he used to call him gay all the time. He used to rap about it. Eminem has lyrics in some of his music about, P. Diddy being a raper, for example. There's so many people in the industry. Nicki Minaj, for example, certainly knew some things, particularly about Meek Mill's relationship with P. Diddy. If anyone's heard that horrible tape, you'll know what I'm talking about. So there are these high-profile celebrities that certainly saw things, and the question is, how do we incentivize them to speak? Because if they would come forward, then actually, even the other powerful people in the background that are hiding wouldn't be able to hide for much longer. But the question is, how did they do that? How did they incentivize the people who saw things to come forward?
And it might be a complete coincidence, Vinny, but we're already seeing people like Usher and Pink, who were friendly with Diddy Combs. They've deleted a lot of their social media. We don't know why, but it could be coincidence. It looks very like it's not a coincidence. What do you make of the scandal?
Well, Piers, being in the entertainment industry, I left the military, went to Hollywood, acting, and all this whole it's a cult. And I love that she brought up Epstein and how he's apparently dead. Ghislaine Maxwell. She's in prison for 20 some odd years, I guess. Where are all the customers? Where are all the people that were, with these girls? You know what I mean, Piers? Where are all the victims? Where are all these people? Not one customer. I know Prince, Andrew, he was obviously, he was there. He was, with the underage girl. And what was his punishment? I think the Queen, when she was alive, she just relieved him of his royal duties. He couldn't be out in public. But I've seen it firsthand, Piers. These people with this power and this level of influence, they go out with impunity as if they're never going to get caught. All the celebrities love them. And they all knew, Piers, Hollywood's not a big town. The entertainment industry, it's not a big town. Everybody knows who Diddy was. Everybody knows who Harvey Weinstein was, Piers, and everybody knew Epstein and all these people were, and nobody ever said nothing. You have people like Michelle Obama, Barack, everybody praising them. Harvey Weinstein, these people were such great people. All the parties, all the things that people went to, Piers, everybody knew. The recording and the cameras, that's a whole different story together. People claim that Epstein was a part of Mossad and recording and blackmailing people. Diddy, imagine how many people are panicking right now that he did it. But one of the main things, Piers, that pissed me off the most is the Usher and the Justin Bieber situation.
Oh my God.
He was on Howard Stern. Usher was on, I believe it was Howard Stern a while ago, and he explained that he went to Puffy's flavor camp at 14 years old. His parents dropped him off with Diddy, and he saw stuff that he said he couldn't believe. 14 years old, Piers, okay? And God knows what he did with him. There's stories about
Justin
him.
Bieber
There's videos where he said...
Usher, after having seen that, he also sent Justin Bieber there.
Great point. And if the rumors are true, Piers, he brings up Justin Bieber, and Justin Bieber has looked like he has been through hell. He was seen with Diddy a couple months ago, and Diddy's patting him down for a while. These people, Piers, are disgusting. They're evil. Thank God Justin Bieber has found God. If he didn't find God, I don't think we'd have him. These people are predators. They're disgusting human beings. It's a cult, Piers, and I hope to God that they find God, because the end game for people like that, Piers, is not good.
Okay, Jason, you know Diddy. You've been at some of these parties. Does what you're reading now shock you, or was it a very wild scene?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, I want to be very clear on the conflation between going to a Diddy party and then going to Diddy after dark.
Yeah. Right.
You know, I said yesterday on a program that, you know, it's like you pass by the door and see a party in an apartment, you go in, you have a drink, and then you go home and realize Jeffrey Dahmer was eating and killing people. People that went to a Diddy party, you know, like Ashton Kutcher, Demi Moore, Beyonce, Jay-Z, I don't know if they were at Diddy after dark when people were getting sprayed down with baby oil. What I will say is that, you know, you've heard a lot of things about Diddy over the years, blowing up cars, harassing people, threatening people, having people killed, allegedly, all allegations. But I think Esther made the most important point, that all of us are just in the culture figuring out this crisis is, where were all the people who were booking flights, booking hotels, driving people to rooms, knowing what was happening? Why is he in there by himself? Why are nobody speaking out? Why is Usher and Justin Bieber not condemning these rumors? Where is Beyonce and Jay-Z? You know, people
where are they?
Watching this train. People are watching this train wreck happen and just trying not to have the conductor call their name, and that's the problem. And see, the problem that I have is that while we all enjoy the fruit of the industry, if you're eating poisonous fruit, then you need to be a part of that tree that's on its way down too. And the problem with being castrated in public right now, which is what is happening to Diddy, no pun intended, is that he's not given his due process. So on one hand, you're like, let it go through the process. But on the other hand, you know, we have, you know, the energy that the young man just had before me, that they know that this is happening in the industry that is not regulated or not controlled. And who's it going to happen to next?
Yeah. Well, I want to bring in Lord Jamar, American rapper and DJ, someone who knows Diddy Combs well, has been, again, at some of these parties. Lord Jamar, first of all, your reaction to the sheer scale of charges against Diddy. Are you as stunned as everybody else by this?
Not really, to be honest. And I want to reiterate what Jason said about the regular Diddy parties and the Diddy after dark. I've been to regular Diddy parties, like in clubs, the PG version. Never been to anything in his home or anything like that, or any after dark type of stuff. But I'm not really surprised. I've heard rumors about this guy for years.
Yeah, I mean, there were these supposed freak-offs, they were called. These are the other parties that you guys are alluding to, where he distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims, so illegal drugs, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant at these freak-offs. The police raided Diddy's house. They found narcotics, 3 AR-15 guns with defaced serial numbers, ammunition, a drum magazine, evidence aligning more, again, with the freak-offs. They found 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. And again, the indictment alleges that Combs subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse to cause the victims to engage in the freak-offs. I mean, Lord Jamar, it all sounds pretty horrific, what was going on to these women at the freak-offs. Were they going there with their eyes wide open to what was going to be happening? Were they caught up in some depravity which only became clear when they got through the door? What do you think was happening here?
I mean, I can only imagine. Like I said, I wasn't there. I think it was probably a combination of the two. Some women went there thinking, oh, you know, we're going to have a freak off. But some of them may have gone there innocently thinking, oh, I'm just going to be around, you know, famous people showing puffy combs. And then he's like, here, have a sip of this. And she doesn't know.
Piers, let me give you some context. Let me give you some context, because I'm gonna just cut straight to it. I have been to the house parties where there have been extra police, or not police, but maybe off-duty police working as security, armed security, shutting down the entire street because there are so many people trying to get in the home. Think about it. Beyonce's on the other side of the gate. Jay-Z's on the other side of the gate. Every major celebrity, the Kardashians, on the other side of the gate. People are trying to get in that party. The first Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house. So you want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are swinging on swings. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And so the one thing that makes this party different than a Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security in the party. That is the one thing that I thought was odd, because I came one time with my security and no other security other than Diddy's security is allowed to be inside the building. I mean, I saw Jay-Z and TD Jakes in there. Every major celebrity you can think of who may or may not get along may be on the other side of that gate with no security. And so now as you see this unfold, my wonder is, well, why weren't people able to have their protection with them when they were in the room? But the one thing I will add that people don't want to talk about is Diddy is not the only person that has these parties where they have people wrangling a bunch of women and there's nobody carding at the door. There's no regulation, right? And the reason is because these guys want to have a bunch of women around. And what happens when you mix that with a bunch of liquor and other things, when the regular party goes home, what happens after everybody's gone?
Yeah, Bruce,
this is different.
Well, let me, Bruce, I want to just put to you the defense from Diddy's lawyer, Mr. Agnifilio. He maintained there's no coercion and no crime. He's not afraid of the charges. And he said he believed that Combs was the target of an unjust prosecution. What's your response to that?
Well, one of the things that we talked about, the people who arrange the flights, the people who arrange this and that, all the people in the chain, those are all going to be witnesses against Diddy. We'll start there. Second of all, he's got terabytes of video all over the place. Thirdly, they've got him on recording, threatening a witness, trying to get them to not come forward and testify. They've got video of him beating a woman, dragging her through, Cassie, dragging her through a hotel. They've got giving IVs to recover. Just the amount, and the key wording here is force, fraud, and coercion. That's the key wording for the sex trafficking.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to have a party with a bunch of ladies and enjoy that. It's quite another thing to keep them there for days until their bruises heal. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a freak off, as it's defined in the indictment, isn't just a party.
No.
It is force, it's fraud, it's coercion, and you're going to see that there won't be a defense to it. His lawyers will take as much money as they possibly can out of him, but the case really will speak for itself.
Yeah,
apparently this was happening to men too.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, Lord Jamar. I mean, there have been lots of wild conspiracy theories. Maybe some of them aren't so wild, but there was one of the big ones is that Diddy was secretly gay. Do you think that could be true?
Which is not a crime if he is or was.
Yeah,
gay, right?
exactly.
Like he has the right
you're missing my point, Jason.
But I mean the conflate.
Jason. The point I'm making is that Lord Jamar said that also men were abused and stuff. It only plays into the context of what Lord Jamar just said, is the sense that if Diddy turned out actually to be gay or bisexual, then the victims here are not just women necessarily. They could also include men. Is that what you're saying, Lord Jamar?
And I'm just saying, it's definitely not a crime for whatever his proclivity may be. But if you're making people do things against their will or hanging things over their head in order to, try to trade, little quid pro quo, that's not cool. When people use their power to try to manipulate certain situations.
That's the coercion.
Yeah, especially sexually. And it's not cool. And especially if you're trying to do this to men that wouldn't normally engage in this type of.
I think there's something to be said about
buying in male prostitutes for sexual performance is against the law federally.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
But I also want to
finish,
start
Bruce,
seeing
yeah.
more people. I want to see more people arrested. Like, where were the bookers, the security,
Yeah.
the transportation? Where are the assistants, the chief of staff, the chefs cooking food, people cleaning up the
They're the
room? I need
snitches.
everybody arrested.
Well, I think, I mean, surely
Those are the
Diddy.
snitches.
Look, if the case against Diddy is so overwhelming, I can quite believe these reports that are coming out that he's considering turning on everyone. He'll have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You know, he knows if he doesn't, he's going to prison the rest of his life.
I mean, he's the top dog. He won't be able to
Piers,
cooperate against.
Hang on one second, Bruce, you go first.
He won't be able to cooperate against anybody. He is the top dog.
Yeah, but surely he could still do some kind of deal, couldn't he?
No.
I don't think so.
No? They're not
He's
gonna
too big
offer
a
him
fish. I will say this though. I think the anti sort of gay sentiment in the hip hop industry really did. I think may have fueled the fact that he was so undercover. Like you said, it's not illegal to be gay. You can have whatever.
But was he
sexuality
gay? I
you
mean,
want.
I don't care either way.
But
but
it
was he
doesn't
gay?
make a difference. But
Do we actually know if he
But
was
I
gay?
said-
I'm
50 Cent
saying this in the
shopping.
context of his victims, his male victims. So, for example, Cassie coming out, we know that they were together for almost a decade. We know that she was seen with him at many high-profile events and all of that. So she coming out as a victim of domestic violence is not unheard of. But if you have an up-and-coming rapper, for example, who for some reason his career just didn't take off, who comes out and says, I was abused, I was raped, I was blackmailed by P. Diddy, that's very different because of the industry that they're operating in. How does that person get their career back?
Well, also, I mean, you mentioned Cassie Ventura there. To me, one of the most significant moments in this whole scandal was quite early on when that video got leaked to CNN. We've got a clip of this, which shows him just being unbelievably, grotesquely violent to her. At the time of this, we invited Diddy's ex-bodyguard, Roger Bond, to give his thoughts on the video and Diddy's subsequent apology. But was that indicative of Diddy's general behavior towards women?
In my light, I would say yes. In my light, I would say yes. It didn't surprise me when I saw it because I've seen things to this nature before. I've gotten in between things of this nature before. And this was back in 2012. So that's why I was so adamant on what I said yesterday after he posted that apology, because it comes a time where it's like, you can't just say anything you want to say and think that people going to accept it.
See, Vinny, when I saw that video, I don't know about you, but I watched it in utter horror that he would do that in a hotel, in a public part of the hotel too. It wasn't in one of the rooms. It was so horrible, so violent. I then thought, well, you know what? I believe this guy's capable of pretty much anything. Anyone that would treat his girlfriend like that, nothing would surprise me. So these charges didn't really shock me because I thought, well, I've seen what he's capable of. We all have.
Oh, Piers, what was even more shocking is we saw the tape. It was disgusting. It was disturbing. And what happened, Piers? Nothing. Statute of limitation or whatever it is. We saw him beat the hell out of this poor girl, dragging her in the hallway. And then what? She brings him to court. He gives her money because rich people could get away with anything, Piers. And then that was it. We wiped our hands with it. And it's ridiculous, Piers, because and on the gay rumors, nobody cares, Piers. But when there's smoke, there's fire. And when they find 1,000 bottles of baby oil and 500 dildos, there's some smoke, there's some suspect activity happening, Piers. And when it comes to the recording, people forget he had cameras everywhere, Piers. You know why some of these employees weren't talking? Who knows what footage he had on all these people? Same with Epstein. Maybe you weren't gay, but maybe you were there. You had a little potion. You pass out, and then they record you taking advantage of you, and then they have that dirt on you forever, Piers. Kim Porter, God rest her soul, his partner, who he has a child with, she wrote a tell-all book, but before it came out, she mysteriously died of pneumonia.
At 47.
And allegedly her friend said that he had recordings of an 18-year-old famous pop star having sex with him. Okay, and everybody could just assume what that is, Piers. But if you have all these people and everybody's talking about it, the fact that we as a society let him see with our eyes, Cassie being dragged and beaten like a rag doll, and we got mad for a week, and then we forgot about it, Piers, because you know what? He paid her millions. That is the problem with our society, is that money talks and bullshit walks. We should have held him accountable. I'm shocked that her family didn't go after him, Piers, because I know you're a father. I'm not a father, but I have nieces and nephews. If that was my daughter and I saw that on camera, it would have been a wrap for Diddy, plain and simple, Piers. So I think we have to hold these people accountable.
Jason?
But that's the point right there. And that energy is somebody who's been molested, who survived molest, right? There's no money that you can pay me to feel good about the experience, to pay my family to forget about the experience. And I think the problem happening right now, at least in this country with entertainment, is that people are going for money grabs. So it is making it hard to decide what is, what isn't. And then there's so much around this case that you can't look at the video and not see a man beating a woman in a public hallway and make any excuse for that. But you also can't make excuse for the hotel taking $50,000 to cover it up. You can't make it like you can't understand how Diddy hired a trainer to train his girlfriend, who they say he was allegedly involved with, who then goes and dates, marries, and has a baby with the girlfriend. I mean, there's so many layers to this crazy story. But I think the biggest issue to what he just said was that people have become apathetic with the abuse, with the narcissism, with the coercion, with the intimidation, and with the sex-crazed industry right now, that it's like just another blip on social media. And it is an epidemic that I think, as we go back to what Esther said earlier and what we started at the top of this broadcast, is that this is going to trail back to a lot of people that all of us are going to go, what, who, when, and sadly, some of your favorite stars are going to be the face of that.
I mean, I think on the point that society's morality has been muddled, people like Diddy being made an example of and being put away in prison for, I don't know, 300 years, for me, is not enough. People like Epstein, people like Harvey Weinstein, people like P. Diddy, if he's found guilty, should get the death penalty. I can't think of anything worse than the things he's been charged with. And to just put him in a prison and give him 3 square meals a day, for me, I don't think is good enough. There is nothing worse than systemically taking advantage of people, drugging them, assaulting them, dragging Cassie through a hotel hallway brazenly, like you said, like she was a rag doll. What do you have to do to lose your life? How much do you have to degrade other people? How much do you have to take away their freedom for you to actually lose their life? Someone like P. Diddy, I'm sorry, it should be the guillotine. There is no amount of 30, 40, 50 years that can ever make up for what he's put people through. And I think that's a small consolation, that he doesn't get to live his days out and reflect on how much he's been a bad boy. No pun.
Lord Jamar, you know Diddy. What kind of person is he? I mean, for people who don't know him at all, what would you say his character, his personality is like?
I think he's definitely a narcissist. You know, I had an interaction one time where it turned out we were both maybe dealing with the same girl, but I wasn't aware of it, right? So he comes up to me, we're in a party in LA, and now it's kind of telling now that fast forward to all of this, but he says to me, I told her to go with you tonight. And so in that moment, it's like he's trying to let me know that he deals with this girl. I have the power over this woman, and I'm letting her go with you. I immediately just walked away from him, walked away from her, and never, seen her again. Yeah, that was just crazy. I was like, this is a real arrogant bastard right here. I also want to say people are forgetting that in the early 90s, he had a celebrity basketball game at City College in Harlem, in which I attended, and at least 9 people died due to his negligence, including a girl that I know that I grew up with named Sonia Williams. Rest in peace to her. And I thought he was going to be done back then. I'm like, yo, ain't no way that he can come back from this. And money and a couple good records and all of that. And he was back. He was stronger than ever. Actually, I think that was pre-Bad Boy.
Bruce?
And Lord, going to your point, didn't Kanye call him?
Wait, can I?
Well, hang on.
Kanye call him a Fed?
Hang on, guys. You're talking over each other. Let me ask Vinny for his reaction first. Vinny?
Well, Lord, just going off of his point, I mean, Kanye West, he said a lot of crazy stuff in the past, but sometimes, maybe he's right. He called Kanye, he said he was a Fed, that he was doing all this stuff, recording all these people, and like you said, Lord, getting away with everything, bro. Getting away with murder, getting away with all this stuff, and he just dodges the raindrops as if he's being protected, just like in Epstein. But now they always have to have the fall guy. And yeah, I think Lord's he's on point.
I mean, Jason, I met Diddy 2 or 3 times. He was always like quite quietly spoken, polite, charming. I mean, he obviously was a chameleon character from what we're now reading about him. But you worked with him. Was this all a facade? You know, could he turn on the charm and the respectful politeness when he wanted to, and actually also be...
When my show, when the Jason Lee show aired, it first aired on the Revolt Network, so that was the extent of our relationship. Let's be clear, I wasn't close to him, I wasn't a friend of his, and anything we talked about was related to the show. But I told a story some time ago about when I was at his birthday party, and I was taking a picture in the foyer, and he walked in, and I said, "Hey, do you want to get in the picture?" And as he was walking over, he was saying something like, "You better not ever F with me, because I'm different, it'd be a problem." But I thought he was just drunk or playing around, and then when the stories come out that he allegedly blew up Kid Cudi's car and those things, you wonder, was he actually threatening you? But I wanted to go back to, and 2 things can be true. You can have a school in Harlem helping young kids, and you can be a cultural icon and put out great music and clothing and, take a liquor brand like Ciroc and make it a cultural thing around the world and make millions and millions and millions of dollars, but also be Dr. Jekyll at the same time. But I wanted to go back to Lord Jamar's point where he's talking about, him saying you can have this one or that one. Lord Jamar, in our culture, and I want to preface this and say I'm not apologizing for it, and I'm just telling you what it is, and Esther, please bear with me. We all know that there are pass-arounds that these entertainers call a reference to women. Young women, and I say young, meaning 23, 22, 24, just want to be around the culture, want to get in the party where it's lit, and then the guys pass them around. Again, I don't want to conflate people's consensual behavior that is just what it is with everything else, but that also shouldn't give these rappers the belief or the license that a young woman who's consenting to having these experiences cannot go home when she wants, can be held against her will, and can be forced to do things that she doesn't want to do. And I think what's going to happen as this all rolls out, Lord Jamar, tell me if I'm wrong, some of these lines may have gotten blurry with some of these guys, but it doesn't make it okay. And I go all the way back to Esther's point. I want to see more people held accountable who participated in that.
Let me ask Lord Jamar this. I'll come to you, Bruce. I know you wanted to say something. I'll come back to you in a second. But Lord Jamar, there are lots of what appear to be crazy conspiracy theories that have surrounded Diddy for years, which may not look quite so crazy now. For example, what involvement he may have had in the murder of Tupac. Similarly, the Shine shooting cover-up, where a former protege, Shine of Combs, was sentenced for an assault conviction stemming from a 1999 nightclub shooting in New York involving Diddy and his then girlfriend, Jennifer Lopez. Many people said at the time that Shine took the fall for Diddy. On those 2 things, should we now reevaluate those? Are they not as crazy as people like to pretend the conspiracy theories are? Are they actually theories we should take seriously?
I think you have to look at his whole history, going back all the way back to Uptown Records and all of that type of stuff. There's been a lot of different, things that have transpired. And whatever rumors you may have, listen, I'm from New York, so that thing that happened with Shine and all of that, there was a lot of stuff that the street knew about, that the papers and all of that type of stuff knew. That the papers didn't know. It just all depends where you're at in this thing. But yeah, I would look at those things again, and I would, I don't know if he's guilty of all these things, but at the same time, where there's smoke, there's fire.
I mean, I think the interesting thing that we can establish is his volatile, explosive character. I mean, people are still saying that Kim Porter's body should be exhumed because it doesn't make sense that a previously healthy 47-year-old dies from pneumonia. I have a friend who's a doctor, and she said that doesn't happen. You only hear of people dying from pneumonia in the 21st century if they're in their 80s or 90s, right? But we know that anyone who was in P. Diddy's orbit has a tendency to get into some suspicious situations, having their car blown up, for example, dying at 47 from pneumonia. Having people that are saying there was P. Diddy that shot them in the face, and they'd be willing to have a piece of the bullet that is still lodged in their body examined just to convict him. I mean, these things are not coming up for no reason. There's so many songs out there now that people are combing through meticulously that are saying, oh, wow, this is in reference to P. Diddy. 50 Cent is the ultimate troll, has been trolling P. Diddy for years, right? All of these things, so many people knew. And I think if the people at the top, if the rappers in the industry, if the entertainers and all of that were willing to step forward and say, listen, this is what I know, this is what I saw, I think it could have a massive chain effect. And you could see the people that were in sort of the chain of command actually going down as well.
And you look at Bruce. I'll bring Bruce in. You look at Justin Bieber, who looks a pretty broken guy right now, and you do wonder how much of that is linked to all this and what may have really gone on with him. Again, there are a lot of rumours about what may have been done or not done to Justin Bieber when he was around this scene, when he was young, underage. And I look at him now, and there's something very off with Justin Bieber, which makes me think...
Justin Bieber has been, I think, maligned by everybody in his orbit, honestly.
Yeah.
But there's a video out there where Diddy's talking to him and saying, you haven't called me, blah, blah, blah. And he looks so uncomfortable with him. He just looks so uncomfortable. But one of the things I wanted to say is Diddy doesn't mess with the rich and powerful. The people who are big time, this and that, these freak-offs were a sexual deviation of a magnitude nobody could really see coming. And they don't happen with people he doesn't have control over, whether it's by drugs or your career or physical domination. And that doesn't generally happen with the Jennifer Lopez's of the world or some of the other people that are much more high profile. The people who are lower profile, who he's got his finger on their neck, basically, and those are the people he can control. And so, and that's different than either the pass-arounds or the groupies that hang out with the parties and that kind of thing. That's a completely different scenario.
I guess the thing, Bruce.
I think he's used to control those bigger people. You understand what I'm saying? If he gets somebody that's at a super high level and he gets them in a compromising position because he had cameras in every room in the house, that's how he gets control over more powerful people and gains more power.
Yeah, I think it could be both, couldn't it? It could be that he has the control, as Bruce says, over normal people that he hooks in, that he can control, but that he also has a lot of photographic evidence of famous and powerful people up to no good, which he could leverage against them. It could quite possibly be both, and no doubt we'll find out. Just finally, Bruce, the process itself, what will now happen? What is the time scale? And what are the conditions that he's living in? Because all the newspaper reports about where he's being held have been pretty hellish in their description of what it's like. What kind of life is he currently having in there, and what happens?
He's isolated because of his celebrity status, so he's not going to have any contact with any other inmates. He's at Metro in New York, which is just a hellhole. The next step in the process would be a motions hearing, probably a motion to suppress the searches of his LA and New York or Miami homes. Then and that'll go nowhere. And then they'll set a trial schedule. They have to have a trial within a certain amount of time, but there's so much discovery in this case that it's going to take a while. So I bet you don't see a trial for a year or thereabouts. And he's going to sit that entire time. And he'll be on suicide
he
watch.
Well, Vinny, I'll end with you, Vinny, but we know what happened with Epstein in precisely this scenario, and that is that he ended up dead before all these famous names were dragged in through a court process. Do you fear the same thing will happen here?
Piers, I don't put nothing past this cabal of evil people, Piers. Patrick Bet-David interviewed Epstein's brother, who doesn't believe that his brother committed suicide. This is his own actual brother. And
I
Piers,
interviewed him as well.
This is how this. And Piers, this is how this operation works. Are you ready? I don't know if Diddy's that in depth, but he quite possibly could be. Or with Epstein, can you imagine you're a powerful senator, you're a prince, you're whatever. You go to a party, a Diddy party, Epstein party, whatever. You have the time of your life. You get drunk, you get drugged up, whatever. Then you come home, and this person or the people that represent this person that's in on this mission calls you and says, hey, we want X, Y, and Z. And you say, hell no. They go, oh, really? check your email, and it's a photo or a video of you doing something insane, and you say yes, I'll give you whatever, I'll give you anything you want. And just very briefly, Piers, which I believe could be with Diddy. And Diddy, listen, and this gentleman said he has a year till trial. Think about it. Epstein committed suicide. The camera wasn't working. The guards didn't know. All nefarious BS things, Piers. Everybody knows what happened. Let's not play those games. And just really quick at the end, Piers, with Justin, that's one of the most egregious. But besides Cassie getting dragged, Justin Bieber did an interview on a podcast, Piers, and he said he was crying. And you're right, Piers. He looks like a shell of a human being. He was bawling, saying about Billie Eilish, I don't want her to lose it. Yeah. And that it is that innocence of a child, Piers. And going off of what she said earlier, I believe anything that sexual assault, if there's video of him and pedophilia and molesting and raping young children, then I do believe that death penalty is hands down that has to be, because that'll put fear in these people's hearts, Piers, because these elites, these demonic people, we have 380,000 children, unaccompanied minors, they're lost at our border, missing. We don't know where they are, and this is what feeds into these cabal of these people, and they go missing. So I would invoke the death penalty to put fear in these people's hearts, because nothing else is working, Piers, and that's what I got to say about that.
If there was any of that, though, that would be in the indictment.
Hold on. What would be in the indictment? Recordings? Wait, hold on one second.
If there was any child involvement, anything like that, that would be in the indictment. I guarantee it would be in the indictment.
So here's my question, though. Okay, I agree, but who's to know that airplane, when he got arrested with Cassie, or when that video came out, there was a Love Air, his jet, flew to an island. Was he on it? Was he not on it? But what was on it to a country that has no extradition? So who knows what was on that plane? What tapes? What video? What recordings? Listen, with the character of Diddy, nothing. I don't put nothing off the table. All right. If there's tapes, they're out there. Well, why else would Kim Porter? Why would Kim Porter die all of a sudden?
All right. Okay. Final word to Jason.
Can we also just, in all fairness, too, to the process, because as a black man, I'm not going to sit here and say that Epstein and Diddy need to be lumped in as the same. He gets to stand trial on his own transgressions and the things that have been claimed against him. And we are talking today in America about a black man that was executed yesterday unjustly. And I want to say Donald Trump, who's running to be the president, has 34 charges against him, found guilty for it, and running for the highest office in the land, and also wanted to execute the Central Park Five when they were not guilty. So I just want to be very clear that he has to go through his process. The people who were victimized allegedly have to come forward. And guess what? Everybody else, back to what Esther said at the top of this, I want to end, that was involved, if it did happen, needs to be standing next to him in trial, being charged with the same crimes, because it's not fair to allow somebody who's been victimized like me to walk around and run into somebody at the supermarket who booked that flight where I got hurt.
Okay, got to leave it there. Excellent panel. Thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate you all joining me.